What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you here to talk about it. I guess monthly now. Title updates we see from Madden. We used to only get them so often. Now it's a monthly thing. The October update is here. I'm going to talk about a couple things before I do. You guys know I'm a Weeble preferred influencer, meaning you use the link down in the description for about the next 13 days. You will get 2 free stocks valued greater than $8 when you join and deposit more than $100. Today is a great day to get in investing. I've been buying this morning Amazon and Google stock, and I don't ever think I will let go of it, and hopefully it continues to make me a lot of money, just like Madden does, for being so bad. Completely different situations, but I do want to address the elephant in the room, the judgmental point you're about to see of Lamar Jackson. They have ceased the game for being free, guys. Everyone that had the free trial for an additional 3 weeks, you'll now never know the greatest Madden NFL 21 that exists because they made all these updates. You know, there's a lot of small things as far as the unstoppable and avalanche ability, a lot of the coverage issues, which I think, like, when you talk about improving cover 4 palms inside quarter safety to better cover the number 2 receiver, that to me says ebook, right? Somebody had an ebook they came out with, and you've went in and you've tweaked things to stop the game manipulation. But if the game played right to begin with, if the logic was there, right, if the logic was right, you wouldn't have to go in and fix so many specific formations. And I think that's what stands out to me more than anything as we see these improvements roll out. You know, they talk about fixing an issue where opponents freeze in the middle of the field. I've never seen this happen. They talk about man-tell zones where users were able to run the ball back and forth to determine whether they were in man or zone. I don't know how they could fix that because, to be honest, some of those tells are just inherently in the game. So I don't know, when they're vague like that, what they're addressing. They obviously have a number of things they've updated. For Ultimate Team, the franchise website was actually down while they renovated, so I don't know that it's back up, but they talk about stability improvements, again, going back in and adjusting the abilities. I feel like putting abilities in franchise gave them the ability to act like they're fixing more stuff when they're not, because now they can actually put in these lines of, here's what we did. So they actually list general stability improvements twice. One under face of the franchise, one under, I guess, classic franchise, which is now just referred to as franchise. Very confusing. But they updated the salary screens for savings and penalties, which I hope means they fix some of the salaries, period, in terms of the cap. I'd love to see them get multi-year agents put into the game when you're signing people off the street and you don't have that one-year deal. They updated some relocation text because, honestly, they had cities spelled wrong. And I didn't ever bring this up because, you know, why make a video on that? But here we are in October in a game that released months ago, and you literally have cities' names incorrect. They also talk about decreasing the ratings boost for wide receivers that received the Heisman winner draft storyline. And that made me think, you know, we don't hear much about those storylines. Remember, they were going to bring in this whole detailed living world a few years ago, and I don't even think it's still in the game. I tried to play through a little bit this morning to see if, you know, those storylines were still there. And yes, there's a lot of data that's shown to you as far as, you know, the twin interactions, the social media. But as far as, like, an actual storyline, there's really not one there. The Yard obviously gets its number of updates, and then presentation updates. They have bug fixes for the tuning and the audio. Obviously, if you didn't know this, you could go into a couple different stadiums and hear the wrong chants. And they put in, this is, I think, the first for this year, the tuning and color commentary content updates for the Ravens, Chiefs, Cowboys, Colts, and Titans. So I wonder if that means when I play as the Colts, I'll be hearing about Paris Campbell and Marlon Mack going out for the season. It's interesting because usually they bring those in terms of larger injuries, but those teams don't cover all the larger injuries for the season. So I'm not exactly sure where some of that goes. I wish, I guess, in point, when you look at these, and I'll put a link down if you want to look at it, you know, when you go through, I'm just going to read these verbatim, right? So if you go to presentation updates, it literally says, commentary, tuning, and color commentary content added for Ravens, Chiefs, Cowboys, Colts, and Titans. Okay, that is just extremely vague. Like, you don't exactly know what's being done. Yet when you go to the gameplay improvements, they literally tell you, fixed an issue with the frontside defensive end being left unblocked when running single back bunch, pitch wide receiver reverse versus dime 2-3-6. I don't mean for them to sit there and tell me, updated the commentary so Marlon Mack is out of the game. But it would be nice if we would have just a little bit more detail. And that's why I said when I look at these gameplay improvements, and it's not just been, recently, it's not just been today. Whenever you look at these, it's something that is so finite. You're like, there's no way that they didn't actually go in and look at an ebook or look at somebody exploiting something and fix it. But you also know this also means the game logic doesn't improve to prevent these things. If you're going in, as an example, just to give you another coverage, improving the default zone drop coach adjustment for flat zone so cloud flats and hard flats would play appropriately when on the field at the same time. If you have to improve that, and that's a mouthful, by the way, that is so confusing to actually read. Let me give you another one. Addressed an issue where when running nickel 3-3-5 wide, one Sam strong safety blitz and outside linebacker in man would inappropriately convert to a QB spy. The outside linebacker, you see, there's no commas. It doesn't even make sense. So what it's saying is if you ran that blitz, the outside linebacker in man coverage would inappropriately just convert himself to a quarterback spy. So that's something they addressed. They fixed this. Because I know it was ruining my game. And now that this is resolved, I'm free to play the rest of the day. But I think it goes back to that whole point of, where is this game going? If you're sitting in there and you're making adjustments to every single play, and to that point, I don't think the live playbooks are even correctly implemented into the game for online play yet. I've had a lot of people tell me that they're not. So if you can't get your base book, your base formations against the AI correct, how in the world are you bringing these online with any type of quality or consistency? And why are you getting this information to go in and fix it when you know that for the greater part of a defense, it's broken still? Why aren't you working on that programming code so that, I don't know, an outside linebacker never throws himself automatically into a QB spy? That doesn't even make sense. Why would you have a player without the user's input automatically do something the user's not requesting? Why wouldn't you just fix that logic and then rather than go in the notes and put in a specific play, we removed the logic flaw in the game that had outside linebackers put themselves in quarterback spy when you ran, a strong safety blitz with the other safety dropping over, or you audible the coverage out to the flats. Like, that tells me, you are not fixing the game. You are just band-aiding specific issues as they come up. And I hate to say it, but, in a vacuum, that's what gets us, in a total picture, to a really broken game. Right? Because you're not fixing the larger problem. You're not fixing what's actually causing the problem. You're just preventing it from happening in this one specific instance. You can't make a game better that way. You can make a play better, right? You can make one interaction the user has in a game. You can make that one play better, but you can't make the whole game better. And I think that's what EA has to get away from. You have to take a look at all these issues, right? And I know some people might not even agree with this sentiment, but let's say you take a look at all the issues that EA has in terms of AI logic in the course of a month or maybe even 3 months that they determine. And then rather than go in and adjust all these plays to make very small changes to prevent exploits, you go in and you actually break down the logic code in the game, which I'm sure has been there since 1989, and then you try to make sure that those things don't happen from a coding standpoint. And take the plays out of the game for a little bit if you need to do that so they can stop being exploited while you learn what's happening. Because that's the only way you're going to get a game better, is going through that process. And I feel like that's one thing EA just doesn't do. Whether it's pre-release, when you're looking at the game in the beta and taking the feedback, whether it's with the testing they do, when they're trying to assess that feedback, the only time these things actually get brought up is when the game is kind of out in the wild. When you have people that have channels that look for exploits, that, lab, if you will. Get away from that. Get away from fixing that. Fix the actual logic, and let's see if we don't get a better game at the end of it. Right? Years of fixing the play hasn't worked. Let's try to fix the game and see if we don't get a better result. And then maybe we won't have to talk about title updates for 10 minutes every single month because the game is still broken. But at least now it's not broken and free. Love to know your guys' thoughts on this. Appreciate you checking it out. And you know I will be back. Actually, no. You don't have to know I'll be back. I promise you, tonight, just because you guys got me over 1,000 likes on Wednesday, I have an 11-minute NFL 2K5 video that is absolutely sure to be an instant classic, and I cannot wait for you guys to watch it. So I will be back then with more commentary.